We are almost at 3,000 units dead total across the course of this game. Turns out we're back to the Viper already. What can I say? He plays a lot of games. There's plenty to watch, especially when he's heading up against another AoE2 compatriot. It is, of course, Kasva. Both of them taking the Hill and Dale. One of them with a more predictable choice. The other one, is he living in the past? I don't know. It kind of feels that way, as Kasva is going to be picking the Abbasids here on Hill and Dale. Meanwhile, Viper goes for kind of like your more standardized expected choice as the Chinese. And Mr. Snaky Ban has been playing a decent amount of the Chinese. He actually always has. I feel like at any stage, any given week, there's a decent amount of replays that are the Chinese. It's kind of becoming one of those civs that I'm expecting to be one of his highlightables in the future. Of course, we didn't get to see much of it in the recent round of Golden League. No, instead, Golden League was dominated by English, with Viper attempting the only English challenge, only simply being denied in that grand final simply because it was banned on one of the maps. But you know what? No need to worry about archers here, right? Instead, we're going to have to see what kind of opening Kasva's got in mind. Because this is a very interesting choice in this map. I don't actually remember the last time I got treated to Abbasids on Hill and Dale. Probably in the 3v3 tournament. It's not exactly your atypical pick. Possibly Avli. Actually, Avli probably about a month ago. That was it. But that was back in a different age of Abbasids, right? That was back when the Mangonels were a lot stronger. That was when you could build them up a lot faster. That was when your berry patches had a lot more food to them. This is a new age, a new dawn. And it's looking like the crumbling of the Empire, because the Abbasids right now, like their win rate down at 48.5%. 369 games played. Now, I don't think they were faring too much better in the previous patch, if I recall correctly, towards the end. But that was due to oversaturation. So, for reference, on the previous patch, the most played civs were the Mongols and the Abbasids. At the highest level of play, of course. Over 1,600 elo this is. Both having almost 2,400 games played. Hop into the new patch, and, well, the Abbasids, 369. I believe they were actually second place behind the English at 533 games played. But their win percentage down 48.5. And the difference with the English is, although they're at 49% win rate, it's because they're being picked so much, right? That kind of, it dilutes the percentage, possibly, because a lot of people maybe who haven't kind of got the gist of the build are experimenting with it. Meanwhile, the Abbasids, like, the experimentations haven't really been bearing fruit. I think the closest we looked to a new dawn for them was when we were watching a certain spammy, cheesy type player building only camels, and it somehow worked. That was actually against the Viper, by the way. That's it, that game in the Mountain Pass. But even then, it felt more to the detriment of what Viper was trying to do with his experimentation in Delhi, more so than the Abbasids are clearly strong. And I'm not sure what the new direction is for this civ right now. The one thing that's maybe looked interesting is camel riders, but for that to work, you do have to be up against cavalry civs, which the Chinese traditionally are not. In fact, the kind of wacky part about this is we're looking at the previous siege dominators versus the new siege dominators, right? Because the Abbasids, when the Mangonels were good, damn, this civ was good. After the Mangonel got nerfed, there's only one good splash attack siege weapon left in the game, and it belongs to the Chinese. So, opening-wise, straight on to mill on the berries. Interesting the Viper chose this over the deer. I'd love to know what the thought process is for him. Like, the scare of the deer can be frustrating, but realistically, you don't get more value out of this. I think, I don't know. Who am I kidding? It's because he doesn't want to risk the bug. So, if it wasn't for the bug that exists right now with sheep and deer, Viper would definitely be on the deer with the sheep. For those wondering what this bug is, the way it works is when you are gathering on deer and your villagers automatically switch over to sheep, they actually get animation locked and they keep gathering up to the maximum hold, and then they never bank it. So they just sit gathering like this. The number locks in at 10 or whatever your maximum capacity is, but they never actually drop off resources, and you can't stop them from gathering. So you end up with idle eco. Well, it's not even idle, right? So you can't even tell that you've lost it. And we've seen some players get stung by this. The most notable one would be Puppy Paw. Unfortunately for him, in round 2 of Golden League, he suffered this multiple times, actually. He had it against Marine Lord, where he had a bunch of animation-locked villagers. And then also when he was up against Lenok in a decider game in the Redemption bracket, he ended up having 4 locked villagers just not gathering. Admittedly, he did go pro scout, so he was kind of begging for it. But, you know, this is the problem with it right now. That's why he isn't here. Because realistically, there's more value. Because if you mathematically compare it, each of these berry bushes are worth 250. That's 1,500 resources. There's 7 deer here worth 350 each. That's substantially more. That's 2,100 food. You know what Viper is not going to be stopped on, though? Booming. Oh, this patch. Viper, Hillendale, town centers. Name me 3 things that are more intertwined at the moment. I feel like every time I watch him, he's going for the TC boom. Doesn't even hesitate about it either. We've seen a lot of players actually opt to go for the Barbican first and then back for the secondary TC, but not the Snake Man. The Snake Man is just going to prep for the first boom of TC as quickly as possible. And on the other side, Kasva. Now, he is going to want TC as well, right? That's the edge you're going to have here. The worrisome thing I do see for the Abbasids is unless he builds a roaming force in the mid, the thing he's going to drain up quickly is going to be the wood. Like, if there's something you use a lot of as the Abbasids, everything you want to build has wood, right? Whether you're thinking of going into the Horsemen, or you're thinking of going for Archers, Spearmen, Siege, like, these all require it. Whereas when you talk about the Chinese, the reason you don't have that same concern is because they, for a start, can be more heavily reliant on food and gold with things like Pass Guard, which is more common. And also, more important than that, this finite amount of wood is 20% more efficient due to the supervise, right? That's the cool thing about this. It's something that is so underrated when you kind of assess the economical values. We can talk about how great the golden ages are because they give an additional 10% and 50%, 20% gather rates when you unlock them, as we see the first one come in. But that gather rate is only getting you through the finite resources 10% quicker. Meanwhile, over here, China is now making this finite resource last 20% longer. Or give 20% more, rather. Which is obviously a better increase than 10% gathering rate, but also means that you're making this finite resource last a hell of a lot longer. That's a lot of longer talk, but let's see how long this one can go, because there is actually a lot of aggression in the midfield already. Horseman being produced, and Spearman is the response for Viper, is going to put him behind. As archers start to come out. We'll need an adjustment. The problem is that Viper went for this secondary TC quite greedily, so he won't be ready just yet. Question is, what is the play from here for Kasva? Usually when you play for midfield control, there's a reason behind it. Sometimes it's preventative measures, and other times it's because you're booming something yourself. Kasva might be paranoid about the idea of going second TC for free, which is why he only has a few people on stone. But overall, like, he would have got away with this. I think the reason he went for an aggressive force in the midfield ahead of Viper is because although he understands both of them are likely going multi-TC, the difference is that once they both go multi-TC, Viper gets value quicker. Because although Kasva does have fresh foodstuffs to make that secondary TC cheaper, making villages only cost 25 food, the difference maker is that Viper is getting a 20% additional drop-off with a supervise, but then that supervise can be used to turn one military building into 2.5, meaning he can actually build up a defense force or reactionary force twice as quickly as Kasva at this stage of the game. Speaking of the reactionary force, Outpost has to go up defensively. Nice little snipe in there, but Viper is clearly ahead. Second TC already being in place. By the way, I noticed we got a raid from Lash. I might as well address it now, even though we're going for YouTube videos here. Shout out to Lash. If you haven't checked him out, definitely check out his stream. Wonderful guy. Very wholesome guy. I think he was one of the most excited people when he qualified for Golden League. So, always nice to see upcomers in the scene. You know, I don't think he was literally doing cartwheels, but you know, maybe if he makes the playoffs, he'll make cartwheels happen. Snipe out Kasva, trying to wrap around the back here. And the Horseman, you can see how this stings though. You have to respect the hand cannons. It does a lot of damage. Makes it a lot harder to dive. The Spearman in position like this. This is the concern actually. Like, Viper has been allowed to get away with not walling himself in with just a few spears. And the issue is that Kasva, he's peeled it off, right? Archers and Horsemen are separate right now. However, Horseman raiding in. Ooh, that's not going to be a kill though. And instead, look at this double hand cannon fire. Like, the damage being done here. And the scout gets sniped as well. Might even lose more. Oh my god, the arrow fire! So Kasva is idling a lot of Viper's eco, but he's not really finding this truly extractive value. He's also being slowed down with the village placement here. And archers are going to begin to frustrate in the transition coming out. Viper hasn't dropped the Barbican yet, so doesn't have the ability to go into Juke Nu. Remember, with the supervise, he can quickly build up a defensive army. Every 6 seconds, he's pushing archers here. Kasva, meanwhile, in his own base, now only maybe in a situation where he can go for a second archer range. Still hasn't, though. And it feels like this only makes sense if you go for the secondary TC. And I think that is the plan here. You can see he's saving upwards. So, yeah, secondary TC coming. But it means Viper's getting away with everything here. Like, actually, if you look at the eco score right now, Viper's got 6 eco lead. And this is before he even thinks about going for Barbican. At that stage, it's not even going to be close. And yeah, there it is. So Kasva does save up all the wood. Instead of doubling down on the feudal aggression, he's going to look to extend his eco down to the south. That means he's only got finite forces in the base here. And these hand cannon slits are doing a lot of damage. I mean, you're seeing these horsemen are just not chunky like they normally are. The archers peppering them slowly, but the hand cannon shredding right through them. Ram might eventually get through the outpost, but I feel like Viper played this pretty well. Spearmen have been sacrificed. Archers going to be dove upon. Barely any horsemen remaining. At the end of this trade, like we said, you really have to hone in on the fact that like who's going to have the economical lead. Although he has shrunk the lead, it's still going to build for Viper. The only way this is good for Kasva is if he now quickly booms up into castle, which is what it looks like he might be saving for. Now post about to be finished off. But the archers remaining. Torches coming out from the villages, the shenanigans, but maybe should have went for the taps of the hammers to repair for a little bit longer. We'll peel back. Loses one of the villies on the exit. Viper, I do feel like he would have benefited from textiles here. I mean, he lost, what, 4 or 5 villages at least total. Maybe could have reduced that to 1, 2 max. But after all that, Kasva, like, you have to map out the value here. Like, he did invest in a ram as well. Horseman also. It's a heavy investment for him, but he has actually respectively recovered his eco elsewhere. Like, food and gold is good. Food and wood rather is good. Gold is a problem. Viper maybe overinvested a little bit here, and he got delayed on his eco lines. And yeah, that was my concern. We see what the problem is now. He never actually boosted his Imperial officials, so he's only had 2. And they've been watching the wrong things. Like, he's been taxing for the most. He hasn't been overseeing the mill. He hasn't been overseeing the deer mill either. The woodline was the only thing he was getting for a while, but he had to switch over to build up the archer army. So overall, Viper actually lost a lot of condensed eco value because of this aggression. And it means that Kasva should be able to cruise towards castle. In fact, it might even be free TCs it is. So all of a sudden, Viper, he very quickly needs to get this Barbican down if he wants to recover his game. Otherwise, economically, he will fall behind. And it's going to be free TCs. Interesting. So overall, this doesn't hurt his ability to get the Song Dynasty unlock. I do still want to see it, though. I feel like you need the Barbican at the front here. It's a good vision point, and also it will allow you to boom up to 4 town centers effective. And he should have enough food to sustain. One detail that might make Viper a little bit paranoid about it, though, is the woodline state. Because he's going to need to transition to farms at this rate. I don't think he's going to be able to get out in the midfield. Not with the likely pressure that's going to come out. Kaz has already shown the intent to push horsemen, so he does have access to stables. So if Viper moves out for any of these areas, for the pocket ecos on the boar or on the deer, he's going to need to set up some static defenses like walls first. Viper's still actually gathering a decent amount of stone at this stage, so it could be that we're going to see some sort of keep drop eventually, but this stone won't be enough on its own. He will have to go for a secondary line if that's the choice. I mean, then again, guys, if you want to convert these TCs into one big TC, you need one more in the corner, right? No, he's not going to do it. There's no way he does it. 4 TCs would be a little bit greedy here, right? There's no way. I mean, it would complete the big TC. Like, this is like Power Rangers, right? You get them all together, and you get, like, the Ultra Power Ranger. Which makes sense. I'll have to see. I mean, he actually still could. Like, these 5 villages could go back to stone gathering, and he could be gone. It does feel really way too greedy, though. So, in terms of the maths, we just said that 3 TCs with Song Dynasty is 4.1 TC effective. You add in another TC, and you end up at about 5.5 TC effective. which there's no way that the Bastards are going to match. Not on a map like King of the Hill. There's just not enough wood for it to justify it. And although it would give you a fat eco, the problem with eco booming like this, and it's something to take note, folks, because I know bigger numbers, shiny numbers are fun. There is a downside to it. And the downside is that you drain your initial resources too quickly, and you have to move out. And if all you've done is built villages, there isn't a civ in the game yet that has that much damage on their villages that they're able to defend themselves. So probably not an advisable military strategy. Although an effective one if you're pushing them out of an HRE Palace of Swabia, right? So Viper gets vital info, does see the free TCs. He should have spotted down here as well. So yeah, he should see everything at this stage. And now it's going to tech up. And Kasva. Oh, wow. Is Kasva going for a back-to-back? There's no way, right? There's no possible way. This is incredibly greedy. He's just fought for mid-control. His opponent's eco booming past him. It looks like Kasva actually might be going for an immediate tech up in Imperial as quickly as possible. Okay, no. Okay, thank goodness. I was worried. I was genuinely worried for a sec there. That would have been almost 4 minutes of idle time, basically. Because remember, it's 1 minute 45 seconds locked. That's almost 4 minutes of you doing nothing. That would have been worrisome to see. But no, Kasva, he makes my heart skip a beat, but he keeps us alive, and he keeps himself alive. He is going to get militarily aggressive, pushes out the crossbowman now. Understands what this means. Viper arriving in Castle Age, the most logical play, as the Chinese, is now to whip out the Palace Guard. However, the bigger concern is this. If he starts pushing Nesta Bees, what is your answer right now? Because you aren't pushing enough cavalry to answer there. Sprues have been a little bit more flimsy to build in the field. Remember, they doubled the build speed of Siege in the field. So you can't instantly just knee-jerk react with it. If you assume he's going to be building into Siege, which is a pretty solid and logical play for the Chinese, you need to get Sprues ahead of time before the fight occurs. Viper will throw his troops out in the center, see what's happening around here. Oh, he saw the first... Wow, okay, Kasva revealed his hand. So Viper has already invested in the backs, but he did see the crossbows. And yeah, this is where the Nesta Bees start to get produced. Now, one thing Viper could do, he needs to sort his wood if he chooses to do this, though. He could actually drop a Siege Workshop to just mass-produce Nesta Bees. If he gets up to like 5, he blitzes Kasva, because Kasva's composition doesn't handle Siege at all. Like, he doesn't have Springles that we talked about. He doesn't have cavalry to burn down the Siege quickly. 3 or 4 Nesta Bees instantly blitz his back line. Like, the ranged battalion just disappears. So yeah, right now, I'd be concerned about this if I'm Kasva. You're playing blind into what Viper's doing. And Viper, he actually already fed back the info. Yeah, you're going to know the old familiar sound, right? Now, the one limitation for Viper, if he wants to keep this up, is the wood line situation. He needs to move out the south soon. I don't think you go west here. I think west is a little bit too close to the front line. But right now, all attention is drawn here. The cool thing for Viper about what Kasva's done, it's not only that he's revealed his intent and he revealed his hand too soon before he found value. It's also the fact that the hand that he's revealed is static. You're not going to flank east or west with man-at-arms and crossbows. It's just too slow, especially as the Abbasids. You want the shortest route to your opponent's base. And the good news for a Viper fan in that situation is it means he can actually head to the south, and he doesn't even need defenses to do this. It's very unlikely he gets raided here. He might drop a keep because there's so much value in this area, but realistically, he could sneak out a wood line, and it wouldn't even be attacked. Man-at-arms starting to build up. Now remember, these man-at-arms, they are slightly less chunky. You can see the difference here. Ignore the health because that's Abbasid specific. It's one of their techs. It's the missile and melee resistance difference. The other difference that matters even more in my eyes, though, is the movement speed. Juiced up at 1.38 compared to the measly 1.12 means that this is a pretty effective gap closer. And look what he's going to do with it. I've called this unit the two-legged cavalry many times, and it looks like he's going to use it that way. It's pretty solid here. Remember, the villagers only move at 1.29 movement speed, so you can actually gap close upon them. Gets even better if Viper goes to the Yuan Dynasty, gets that 15% increased movement speed, at which stage you're almost as fast as heavy cavalry. Kasva making his own little sneaky snake move around the side. And he's going to spot a lot of exposed eco. Viper, now, some people are looking at this right now, they're probably like, why has he put granaries in the back corner? One, it's the furthest away from Kasva, and two, you got limited space in your base. And that takes up a lot of space, as you can see on your screen. So this is going to be value for Kasva, because there's no defense force in the location. Viper will be able to pull back in time if he reacts here. Most villagers should survive this. The problem, the bigger problem though, is if Kasva starts burning this down, he might get rid of it quick enough. And granaries are a pricey investment, 250 wood each. And that's the one limiting resource at the moment for Viper. Meanwhile, stone walls are going to be forced to be invested in by Kasva. So no shenanigans now available to Viper. But look what he's forcing Kasva to do. If you keep shifting right and left, he's actually not gaining ground. I do like the Siege Workshop drops though. Remember that the Abbasses can build many things, but one thing they cannot build in the field is trebuchets. And that's what he's going to need to breach this base, especially with the keep at the strong point at the front. There we go, raids in, but yeah, damage done there. Now, trade-out-wise, this should be reasonable for Kasva. He's slightly outnumbered, but he's going to take a few pass guard with him. The important detail is, like, on top of that, he burnt down a granary that cost 250 wood. I mean, I say it should be a close fight, but good lord. Doesn't look like it, right? So reasonable trades overall. Kasva buys some time, and with that time, fight in the center. And this is the frustration, right? If this was man-at-arms, you'd be peppering him on the retreat. You can't do that with pass guard. Although what you can do is this, Kasva. What is informing this choice? There's no way he has info about this wood line. I think it's just a safe assessment. He understands that wood's draining up. Like, his opponents come off the high ground for a reason. And this is just a stoop. This is smart by Kasva. Understands the state of the game. Understands that Viper must have got through his initial wood. So he has to have expanded somewhere. And that's just going to be equity denial. You might not kill the villagers, but the important detail is they're no longer gathering. And Viper needs more wood. Stat. Well, hello? Uh-huh. That feels so bad to look at. It's like they're just waiting. They're just like licking their chops like, yeah, we're taking you down anyway. Die, scum. Crossbow wrap around. Pass guard are going to gap close here. Remember, those crossbows are the ones that get the bonus damage here. Pass guard, even with their movement speed as it is, are struggling to stick on top of their targets here. Pull back. Trebuchet is going to be exposed. Mistakes made here. Viper, he's only got one nest of bees. This is his biggest kryptonite right now. Like, he doesn't actually have any anti-clump. And one nest of bees is just not going to cut it. Pass guard, trying to trim through. Man-at-arms, rushing past. Second nest of bees comes out, just in time to be torched down. Big mistake made. Viper trying to keep the siege alive. Keeps is the only reason staying in this right now. Rams moving in, though, to try and address that keep. And the crossbows are a problem right now. Peppering right through. The pass guard not getting the great trades they're looking for. Springles in the field as well. And this is the issue for Viper. Viper, it's the wood issue. He still hasn't addressed it. He still also hasn't gone for a siege workshop to mass nest the bees, and it means that he's going to start losing these keeps in mass. Vipey, this is not the way. Pass guard are going to start to body his opponents. The transition is coming out now, though. Crossbows can be the answer. And that's the cool thing about this composition. If they both go for anti-armor and front line this way, as in man-at-arms pass guard, and then crossbow, Viper's ahead. Because the difference between the pass guard and the man-at-arms is, although the man-at-arms are a little bit more chunky, it's kind of inconsequential when you take in consideration the bonus damage. What matters more is these pass guard can actually wrap around and get on top of their counter quicker. They can actually dish out more damage to crossbows compared to these man-at-arms that take too long to gap close. Speaking of which, man-at-arms are not being pushed in number anymore. And crossbows are not a solid front line, my friend. Back off the moment, keep going up. Kasva gaining a lot of ground right now. Siege Workshop a little bit too far forward here. And keep has fallen. Viper surrendering a lot of ground. His only upside is he has at least got the wood line still here. If it wasn't for that, he'd be pretty much KO'd. Over the gold has been denied. He needs to find new gains, and he is going to be on the big fat vein in his own base. Relics, not really finding too much value so far. Of course, the good news for him is so far Kasva has not gone into relic gathering himself. He's gone into a keep crawl. New one going up. No trebuchets here, so can't instantly deny the keeps as they're initially constructed. And Viper, this is getting a little bit too close to base. Really cool moves out of Kasva, actually. Like, I love this switch over in the crossbows hard. And now the trebuchet count up to 7. Like, this is the power of the siege workshops. He's understood the win condition. Viper, meanwhile, he kind of forsaked his win condition. He didn't respect the fact that he had the window to go bees. I think actually he showed too much respect. I think he got too paranoid about the potential for Springles. Understanding that, yes, you are up against the Abbasses and they can build them in the field, but they still have to build them. That still takes time. There's still a strike point in this game where you can push Nesta Beast and also Spriggles en masse. You just need to sort your wood. But because he never put down the keep, he didn't actually have constant gathering on the wood line, right? He never ran an Imperial official out here, and now he still hasn't defended himself here. And instead, Kasva, this cheeky goose, look what he's doing. He's moving in. And what's Kasva trying to do? While Kasva's getting the aggression going, Viper is trying to move up in the world. He's thinking about going Imperial, but this might be the worst time to do it. So little resources available to him. And look at this, the raid in. The walls need to go up, but he can't get them. Kasva sees any attempt to tap Bahamas. Viper getting started pretty fast. Kasva, the timing on this, the way he played this from the mid game and beyond has been succinct. Just extracting value, exploiting Viper's knee-jerky approach, never willing to commit what he's doing here. And although Viper finally has found his surplus of wood, he can't really do much with it anymore. Trebs are still unanswered. Your buildings are slowly being deleted, and all that wood is going to be depleted, just trying to replace what was lost. And now, Eco exposed. Problematic scenario here. Viper, he did go for the Imperial Age. Kasva will be astutely aware of this, and it means he knows he can take good trades for the time being. And so many villagers falling. Kasva up 147 compared to Viper now 137. Both of them still strong economically, but how do you stay strong economically when you can't gather any resources? The oppression continues. Keep has to be constructed by Viper defensively. But look at the wall in. Kasva understands perfectly where he's at. Goes for the tech up now. And this will be a cruise mode. 1 minute and 45 seconds before he gets his own economical and technological advantages up in Imperial. But there's not an easy way for Viper to punish him once he sees that tick up. Trebs are exposed. Good move coming out from Viper here, actually. Fully undefended. Kasva spread himself a little bit too thin. However, the Trebs will be able to wheel back. And Passguard, with double keep fire, are not going to be able to wipe out the entire back line. Especially with the villagers here to protect this. Even the boiling all in the mixer, so Viper will lose the Vanguard. Bombards are now in the mixer. His saving grace has arrived. And remember, this is Imperial Age, so Chinese, this is where you really can boost up. However, Siege Workshops had to be rebuilt here, and that means a heavier strain on your wood lines. Wood lines that are, for the moment, still alive, but they're not exactly booming. And in fact, if it wasn't for this wood line that he reclaimed to the north side, Viper would be flatlining. Kasva now trying to make sure he flatlines. He goes in for the cheeky keep. And there's no way for Viper to stop this. Remember, he's still been pushed back. Somehow he snuck his villagers across and it got ignored, but here we go. Chinese build speed, folks. Watch how quickly this goes up. Villager count is more or less identical, 21 to 19. But this is how much build China gets. Able to match the timing, get his own keep up defensively. Although he needs to garrison before he gets butchered. Uh-oh. Now, other players, they would have GG'd out by now, but Viper, I mean, he's finding a way to stay alive here. I think the biggest detail is the bombards, but that lead you just had is about to shrink. Imperial Age is reached, so Kasva about to unlock his own boom potential. Where did he go? Okay, so yeah, so he actually went back for the tech one. A lot of value here, actually. I love the idea of medical centers with these keeps he's been constructing. A bit hard to maintain value just because of the bombard pressure. But he might see its value still. And there's still other value for Viper. Remember that he hasn't actually gone up for Yuan Dynasty yet. It'd actually be a big benefit to go for it now. With the ability to just roam out. See if he plays into it, though. He has got limited space. That's another issue. Whenever you build these additional landmarks, where are you building them? Because you need all this space for farms, right? Kasva, I think he's finally going to be cleaned up at the back here. Viper needs to reclaim his territory. He understands that he's running out of space fast. He's also no longer getting wood over here. The enclosing is complete. Everything's kind of a little bit too exposed here. So Viper done what he could, but that wood line is not going to belong to him anymore. And it's good timing as well, because look what's happening for Kasva. He doesn't really want to go for this reserve wood. This wants to be his backup choice. He wants to start taking away from his opponent, and we can see that right here. He moves up. Wood line being chopped from the other side, so Viper is running out of resources. He's going to have to fight for what he wants next. I wouldn't really call this fighting right now as much as it is defending. I guess that's a form of fighting. Not exactly a productive form in this situation, though, as the keeps are slowly getting rid of trips, rather, are slowly getting rid of the keep. Look what Kasva's now doing. Ah, that's a lot of flat land. I do need to transition to farms. Let me just take all this area. It's actually kind of crazy what Kasva's done here. Like, some people maybe see this as risky, but I actually quite like it. He's left himself a lot of reserve space in his base, should he ever need to fall back and make a transition. The cool thing about utilizing this midfield with reserves building like this is in the event that you do get wiped here, you then actually have space in your base to build the counter to what Viper's bringing. Whereas if you already had all these buildings in place, it's just wasted infrastructure. You didn't get the increased reinforced speed of them being close to the front line. And you also now like don't have the wiggle room to build, say, 10 racks to counter out whatever Viper is pushing. Kasva, he's going to be forced away. The elite Palace Guard are becoming problematic. Viper really would benefit from getting up a dynasty, though. Like, I don't think Grenadiers needs to be the answer. Like, Yuan Dynasty feels so good here, especially with the Palace Guard push. Realistically, you don't necessarily need the Grenadiers because you still have Nesta Bees, right? But I can see why you might be baited towards it. Palace Guard. They look like psychos with these blades, the way they swing in. Wraparound's good. Clean up the forces. There's just not enough golden hats here. The crossbows can't beat this out. The hand cannoneers now in the mixer for Viper. Uh-oh. That's a lot of ground to forfeit over. Has got the keeps to protect him when he eventually arrives back here. Keep in mind he's been gathering in the mosque on the front line. So he could end up losing these relics. Swallow. We'll shift Viper back for a second here, but not for long. Keep is going to be the main deterrent. So isn't moving over the midfield just yet, but Viper starting to reach a push-out point here. Almost pop-capped, sizable military force, and he has the quality units now. The hand cannoneers is something that Kasva hasn't switched into yet. That's why he's able to keep these good trades. The Pass Guard holding back the man-at-arms, and the man-at-arms instantly getting shredded. Hand cannoneer count now up to 14, and Kasva, you need to make the switch as well. And it's finally coming out. Also Culverins. Culverins that can be decent at sniping out from long range. Remember, it's 12 tower range. Hand cannoneers only having 150 health, so 2 shots will take one out. Hand cannoneers are going to feel bad. I like the way Viper's playing this, actually. A lot of people would have just taken the trade there. The whole point, though, is that these hand cannoneers are very pricey. 240 resources each. So he wants to make sure they last as long as possible. That's why he wants to have throwaway Pass Guard, which are half the price as a front line to just soak up all that fire. And that's the difference maker, right? It's like Kasva, he could end up sacrificing a lot more the way these fights are playing out. He's not necessarily peeling back at the same pace. The only reason that he's holding right now is this keep. But this keep might not last long if the bombards start to wheel out. And we are going back to the Nesta Bees, and I believe that Nesta Bee, yeah, supervised production, folks. It is going to be in the reload drills. Oh my. These bombards are going to become quite lethal. Remember the Culverins, they have the same range. It's 12 tower range versus 12 tower range. The bombards, however, are going to get juiced up, remember. So much remembering. It's the attack speed buffer, right? The unique tech that you get is the Chinese. It's not only the ability to get the reload time down, you can even go back and actually make these Nesta Bees much more affordable later on. So a lot of siege benefits start to pivot back towards the Chinese at this stage of the game. And the Abbasids lose their value there. In fact, when you get to Imperial, the biggest advantages you can build as the Abbasids usually comes down to things like camel archers and how tanky they get, as well as your ability to go into composite bow archers that shoot a lot quicker than anyone else's archers. But we're not there yet. It's still crossbows and man-at-arms, and it almost feels stubborn out of Kasva. And this is to the benefit of Viper. Especially these bombards starting to wheel out. 2 of them now in the field. Keep starting to be targeted. A little bit of sacrifice here, unneeded from Viper. Trying to keep the Culverins at bay is the logical move. But you can wheel off just so they get in range. You shouldn't be losing the bombards like this. Uh-oh, I say you shouldn't. But he does. One goes down. Instantly sniped out. Didn't respect the triple Culverins in range there. And they're pricey, folks. You can see how they're both struggling to keep up gold production. And each of those bombards, even the Culverins as well, cost 1,000 resource. 600 gold, 400 wood. And if there's 2 things that both of them are lacking right now, it's wood and gold. In fact, when we look at the income per minute, you see how they're kind of struggling. Like, Kasva should feel quite healthy, but as quickly as he has it, it's being spent again because he's making that switch into hand cannoneers as well. And that switch is starting to amass quickly here. Now up to 26 hand cannoneers compared to the 16 of Viper. He's fallen behind. Really needs the Nest of Bees to save him here. The issue, however, is the Nest of Bees, they only have a 9.6 tower range. Culverins can snipe them before they even get in range. And you have to wonder, is it worth going cavalry at this stage? Because admittedly, like, there's a lot of food. Horsemen would get shredded by a lot of these hand cannoneers, but they could probably move in and snipe out the Culverins with only 400 health. So I wouldn't be against that switch over for Viper. Maybe drop like 4 or 5 stables and then push Horsemen. Even Scouts, just something to gap close. The problem for him right now is his pop cap, so he doesn't really have the wiggle room to throw away those sort of troops, right? Like, both of them are floating around the same amount of eco. And it's just a race right now. Unless they build up huge reserves, they're not going to switch their eco down to below 100. Well, they'll throw away some eco to burn down the trebs. Good value found there. Outpost upgrades looking like they're a little bit too late from Kasva to have maximum impact here. Now fighting away. In the midfield, hand cannoneers moving in. Pascal baiting the fire. Archers in the mix now for Viper as well. Interesting choice here. Wraparound Spearmen also joining in. Hand cannoneers, they get raw damage. There's no bonus damage either way, so Spearmen are actually a solid solution. The wraparound forcing the Culverins away. Allows the Bombast to wheel in range. And look at the Massacre, and this is the difference we talked about. Viper, it's efficient usage. He keeps his hand cannoneers alive, and Kasva is just throwing them to the wolves. That's why at the end of this fight, Viper's going to be the one who's last man standing. 4 hand cannoneers remaining, 17 for Viper. Kasva, mistakes have been made here. No switching to Spearman, no front line to throw away. It means it's just overall an amazing trade for Viper. I mean, it's crazy as well, because that's not the first time Viper has done this to Kasva. He'd done it before to keep the hand cannoneers alive. He baited him in. He used Palsguard and anything cheap to draw fire. And he just done it again. He just stripped away a 2-to-1 advantage in hand cannoneer count. That's not easy to do. But really, Kasva is the one who made the mistake there. He had the opportunity to peel back at any stage. He chose not to. And as a result, Viper getting very good trades here at a time in the game where you can't afford to be trading poorly, as resources are starting to be tapped dry quick. Wood-wise, we're talking about like what? Gathering his kind of... Wow. Wait. 5 people on wood from Kasva. That's got me a little bit concerned right now. So, although he isn't using as much wood in his composition, it's important to deny wood. Look at what is being built. Bombards, archers, spearmen. These all require wood. It's more important to take wood away from Viper than it is for your own eco right now. But you could actually pivot. You could still find value. You could easily just do what Viper done. You could build spearmen. You could build horsemen. Some sort of crap to throw away as a front line so that you don't lose its hand cannoneers. Because every time your hand cannoneers become the front line, it costs you dearly. They're 120 food and gold per unit. That's the same price as a knight. That's nowhere near as tanky as one. Viper we'll probably move up to start getting some breathing room now. Like, most of the outposts are down. You can see the reflector movement now at Kasva, but it's still man-at-arms. Man-at-arms riding in, but there's the gap close. Spearman and Passguard straight in on top of him. Once the hand cannoneers are there, there's nothing Kasva can do. It's just going to be a massacre. All defense has fallen there. More being built up. Kasva, remember, he did use his midfield for farming. Doesn't want to give it over too easily. And I'm seeing the same issues as before from Kasva. I mean, the man-at-arms, he has got a reasonable quantity at the front, but it's not a cost-effective solution. Admittedly, some of this is caused by what Viper's done. He mixed in archers, so you can't even rely on spearmen, but realistically, you need something cheaper, more, shall we say, tanky. And while the man-at-arms feel that they should be tanky, it's just not against the hand cannoneers. Unless you can answer these hand cannoneers, these trades are going to keep going the way of Viper. I don't think this is a mismatch on the front line choice. I think it's a mismatch on the back line choice. Like, Kasva, in theory, is holding Siege hostage with his culverins. Mangonels aren't as good as they were, but considering how pricey the hand cannoneers are, it might still be a worthwhile trade. Because think about it this way, right? Like, if the hand cannoneers stand still and you hit 5 of them with a mangonel shot, it doesn't sound like much, but these do cost 240 resources each. So if you kill 5 of them with a mangonel burst, that's 1,200 resources down the drain. So you can afford to pay for 2 Mangonels to, across 2 rounds of fire, get rid of those many hand cannons. It's worth it. But he doesn't see the worth. Instead, he's going to take another bad fight. The front line is just too bulky from Viper. And look how quickly he cleans him up. And once that's happening, the Palace Guard able to gap close on top of the hand cannoneers. Hand cannoneers once again in trouble. And it's just cost efficient. Viper, these trades once again going his way. And look at the detail now. Kasva, he can't afford to lose anything. Wood depleted to 0. If these culverins go down, he has no control of the siege. Bombard sniped out. Good play there. The hand cannoneers trying to approach further in, and that's going to expose your culverins. The culverins snipe out. No, big mistake made. Kasva, he can't rule them away. He exposes his underbelly, and Viper, he munches upon it instantly. Oh, Kasva, that's a problem. That is a very big problem now. Food and wood depleted to 0. He's hard stuck here. Not able to replenish as quickly. Hand cannoneers trading out. Kasva, the miss micro as well. He's chasing for the bombard. No! This is getting worse, folks. This is definitely downhill from Kasva. To think he was in such a dominant position. He locked Viper in. He starved him out. But now Kasva is the one resource drained here. He still maintains control over 2/3 of the map, but has no way of exploiting it quick enough. And this is where it gets worrisome. 2 bombards in the field. Viper, I think he's identified this as well. There's no anti-siege arriving anytime soon. And that means these keeps are going to fall. And once they do, Viper is going to flood through. Still cost efficient. This has been the difference. This has been the problem from Kasva. No front line that was cost efficient. The man-at-arms are not a fast and solid solution. Arguably, spears maybe would have been a better call. They're cheaper. They move faster. You can make them almost as tanky. Yes, Archer's going to get bonus fire, but like we already highlighted, it's the hand cannons that are the real problem. And they are shredding this man-at-arms. So movement speed really is the difference maker here. If you want to invest this hard in hand cannoneers, you need to make concessions elsewhere. And I felt like that just didn't come out of Kasva. It's also the production speed, right? Like if we look at the racks here, we can see that Spearmen take 11 seconds. Man-at-arms are taking him 16 seconds. On top of that, they're running all the way back from base. And because they are 1.12 compared to a Spear at 1.25, it takes them longer to arrive replenished on the front line. And that difference has added up. Because now, Viper has added this all up into a lead. Now, Kasva. Not sure religious figures are going to boost the morale of the troops here. 1 bombard sniped out. Hand cannoneers have to turn around and face the front line because he doesn't have a front line. Kasva, once again, the overinvestment. 29 hand cannoneers. And they just have to instantly retreat. The concern is that while Viper doesn't have as many hand cannoneers, he has archers, he has Nesta Bees. And that is the fear factor for Kasva. Jason baits him in range. If Viper pays attention, these Nesta Bees could do maximum damage right now. And they're looking to do so. Target in. Flurry of fireworks coming out. Heavy splash damage in. Only 1 Nesta Beast, but it starts to add up. And the Archers are the difference maker here. It's not even about the hand cannoneers anymore. The Archers are able to pepper these units down as they retreat. And also, they have the superior range, right? 4 tower range compared to 5. Means Kasva is the one who always finds himself out of position. Another keep goes down, more ground being gained, and it's a switch up now into the bombards. So, insta-snipe value a little bit down the drain for Kasva. Kasva just showing off his shiny new armor. And you see the races for wood now. Like, he's understood the limitation, but he's understood it too late. You should never find yourself drained to 0 like this. If you do, it's bad tidings. Viper, feeling confident now, starts to move out into resource deposits. It's the first time in a long time he's seen this side of the map. But there's still so much value here. The wood wasn't extracted, it wasn't taken away. And this is the concern. When Kasva does go for wood, it's his reserve line. He need to be on this line. He need to be taking away the surplus that Viper requires. Instead, Viper is going to get access to this wood eventually. At which stage, Kasva is going to be the one running straight down to 0 on the wood line again. And Cannoneers looking fancy with their hats, hold it for the moment. However, they are going to start to be addressed now. Bombards. Value for Viper. He has more on their clock tower bombards. They can't be insta-sniped. It's not the same way on the other side, though. Kasva instantly losing these bombards 1 by 1. And each of them is 1,000 resource down the gutter. My, oh my. Although it is not a quick death, you can start to Smell the corpse here. So Kasva is a dead man walking, even losing the gold trickle now as the moss gets blown up. Well, from here on out, Kasva is in fullback mode. He needs a transition. He's needed it for a long time. This composition has not been working. He's been stubbornly throwing the same thing at his opponent time and time again, and every time he's been losing ground. Man-at-Arms isn't working. Hand cannoneers can work, but you need something else in the mixer. In fact, the crazy part is, how is it that we are 45 minutes into the game in a Chinese versus the Abbasid matchup, and the Abbasid player is not the player who's gone for archers with the composite bows? This is nuts to me. It's such a missed trick from Kasva. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, he researched the composite bow tech, but he never got the golden hat upgrade on the archers. Now, for those wondering what the composite bow does, it reduces your reload speed by 33%. Meaning you have a 33% increase in DPS over Viper's archers. Meaning while the Viper has archers, you become the sniper. I mean, it's a missed trick. It's also a cost-efficient solution because it layers this, right? It's not just hand cannoneers being picked up on your frontline folds. It's Viper inefficiently targeting archers as well. And those archers, even when they're not targeted, are going to trade better than Vipers. It's baffling. I mean, Kasva, he just missed the trick here. And that means the coffers are all but empty now. And he doesn't really have the wood reserve now for that transition. Because archers, they're 50 wood each. Instead, he's stuck in a perpetual cycle of replacing Lost Siege. As he goes once again into the Culverins. Bombard's backing up for the moment. Kasva merging to the right flank here. Pull back for the moment, but Viper turns to fight. Spearmen start to engage. He's trying to get in range, trying to snipe out the Bombards, but Bombards taking out Culverins as well. Tanky. They are clocked at 50% additional health. Means they last long enough, and the Culverins are not exchanging well here. The increased reload speed is giving the edge over to Viper. The village is here to repair as well. And this is problematic. Kasva trying to take the fight. Viper might lose this one out this time around. There's just so many hand cannoneers. But afterwards, how the trade's looking, how are the reserves, how the coffer's building. Viper definitely has a lot more surplus to work with than Kasva. It's important now that Kasva quickly moves in off the back of this. He takes a good fight. He's positioned to push in. He needs to push in now. And the reason he took this good fight is because Viper is missing the Nesta Bees again. They're not there. They're not addressed in the hand cannoneers. Viper does fall back for a moment. More Palace Guard coming out. Hand cannoneers are pursuing, but they're starting to pursue out of formation here, right? He's left half the hand cannoneers behind. Kasva. This is not a good fight. It's going to cost him dearly. Remember, each of these hand cannoneers is a pricey unit investment. Meanwhile, the Palace Guard at half the price are holding him back at bay. He's starting to wheel in. One Bombard is not going to be a quick siege, however. Kasva starting to gain some ground, but Viper needs to sort his gold. Gold is the concern right now. He's only got about 400 gold per minute, which means he can't easily replace and get what he needs. But he starts to push hand cannoneers en masse, producing 7 in reserve still, 14 already in the field, and that might be enough. With the diving coming out, Kasva, he needs to respect the defenses. He's gone too fast here. He needs more Bombards. And that is once again going to be an army wipe. The only good side of this for Kasva is he can afford it. He's on the gold once more. Viper is not. But after this, is Viper going to be able to move out and reclaim those gold sites fast enough is the real question mark here. You can see more hand cannoneers being pushed, walls going up. Midfield, it's a roaming battalion of Palace Guard moving around the place, trying to stop either player from getting on the gold. That's the important detail. This becomes the critical resource. Look how much gold is in this area. Wood, more or less gone. Gold and wood in this specific area is where it's all about. And this is where it gets a little bit frisky for balance because it will put you out of position. It does mean that whenever you move into this area, your opponent can flank you. And that's why it's important that if you want to shift over here, you need to re-wall up. And that's why Kasva commits the stone walls right outside of Viper's base. Viper. This is how trivial man-at-arms look. This is what we were highlighting before, right? You just run away. Just keep running away, lol. Admittedly, it does mean that he's got more troops locked in, running away, doing nothing right now. But it's at least a distraction. Keep Kasva from massing and pushing into his base as he rebuilds forces back at home. And we are now seeing the Nest of Bees again. But these are not Clock Tower Nest of Bees. Even though they're the same price. I mean, this is the crazy part, actually. He's been supervising the Siege Workshop for a long time, but he can't afford to. Realistically, wouldn't you get more value out of starting to tax more buildings? I say that, I think he's tax dried, though. Like, no. Oh my god, the granaries, they're full. They're full, sire. There's 1,200 gold and 700 in this granite, 800 in this one. I mean, Viper is gold starved right now, and he's not taxing them. He could be with this Imperial official, but I don't think he's noticed. This is why this button exists, folks. Use this button. He even has room for an additional Imperial official, and it would be worthwhile right now. Wow. I mean, it's crazy as well, because Viper, he could also use that surplus gold to trade for wood. And he needs to get the siege out to access this area, because right now, this is becoming the important detail. Outside of these straggler trees, this is the only wood remaining on the map. I say there's a few straggler trees down here as well, but realistically, you want the big clump. And that's why he starts to breach. Bombard breaks him out. Nest of Bees in position. Viper understands the starvation game too well. Doesn't want to make it easy for Kasva, but Kasva, ooh, he's layering himself. He's making it easier for him to prioritize to the right side. He doesn't want to get raided, right? Like, he has a lot of eco in the west side here, and he is building a static force. So the worst case scenario for him is if he has to run to the other side of the map. Bombard's willing in. Still no tech up again from Viper, so he hasn't chosen to go for the Yuan Dynasty. I feel like this is a missed trick. Like, all of your composition benefits, right, minus the siege, your hand cannoneers, your archers, your palace guard, they all get faster. And mobility is critical here. Mobility you won't have as you get choked. Moving in, Nest of Bees on the flank here, not prioritizing the hand cannoneers though. And that's really what he needs to do. Front line starting to be rinsed quickly on both sides, but the hand cannoneers moving in on the Nest of Bees is going to snipe it out. Culverin's on the back foot, Bombards as well. Kasva taking a premium fight here. Viper can't afford to give over the ground. Hand cannoneer count is more or less even at the moment. But is it going to stay that way for long? Viper pushing out more troops here, starting to hold his ground. Kasva losing the front line, and at the end of it, you then have to look at the reserves. Right now, they are pushing themselves to the limit here. Kasva is in the middle of transition though. Notice that he's going hard now into camels. But look at the price. Wrap around. Villagers in with the torches. Should be enough damage done here. One bombard going down. We'll target out the second. More villagers being pulled. Kasva trying to keep that hefty investment alive, but uh-oh. Uh-oh. The missed micro. More villagers coming. He will keep it alive. Kasva still not able to transition. Some people contemplating, is trade a good move here? It would be. I agree, folks. Trade is absolutely amazing. There's only a small issue in the way. Apart from the initial investment of building those traders, which is admittedly cheaper for the Abbasids, there's the 3,600 resource gateway to getting good value out of that trade. Not to mention the location of these marketplaces. It's a weird dynamic for him, and I think that's why he's been paranoid for a long time about it. It feels too late. Like, wood's been drained. If you were going to make the switch over into trade, you probably would have done it 5 to 10 minutes ago. He hasn't been extracting enough wood to be able to do it anymore. Now, after all that fighting, look at the numbers. Neck and neck militarily, but the bombard count is the concern for me. I mean, they traded out fairly evenly, but at the end of it, if you look at the hand cannoneer count, it's in favor of Viper, and now he has the bombards in his favor as well. Now, this switch over to camel archers seems decent, but it's only 200 health on this unit. And you're up against hand cannoneers still. Bombards as well, which are, of course, the natural predator of all wildlife. Almost able to instantly snipe out the camels one by one. But this is the other value. Look at the move, Kasva! He sneaks in. Forces Viper to peel back. Now, Viper, he has mass quantities of food in reserve, so that's not a concern. However, if you strike in and find his wood and gold lines, that is where it's going to sting. Camel Archer's getting in on this. Heavy damage, 18 per shot. They can insta-kill. Blitzing through these villagers, only having 75 health each. Now the question is, has Viper still got the trade? Oh, no, okay. Viper started to address the taxation issue. This is what's keeping him alive right now, actually. And in fact, did he go for a nut? No, still no other Imperial official. Kind of surprised by this. He will eventually drain the granaries. It's going to take a long time, though, is the issue. Now Camel Archers starting to be targeted by the TC. They are frustrating, though. They're definitely doing some hefty damage. Viper now down to 69 eco. Brilliant number. But not if you want to stay ahead in this game. And you can see on the income per minute. I mean, Kasva, he can float this for another hour. Viper, really not the same way. He needs to find a way of striking a decisive blow soon. Kasva, as you can see, with this sizable army, is not going to allow that. The smart play about this elite Camel Archers is what they cost as well, by the way. It's mainly food. That's what Kasva can afford. Wood and gold are limiting factors right now, so he wants to limit the cost, the burden to him with that. And that's what he's done with this formation. Camel Archers moving in. Flash once again. Parscard gap closing. Hand Cannoneers standing their ground. Camel Archers just trying to be the front line to protect here. They can get right on top of the Hand Cannoneers and trade out. Fairly effective when you consider the amount of health on these units. Gives time for the Hand Cannoneers to rinse the front line. Bombards trading in on the backside. Archers coming out. Viper just trying to gain some ground. Although he takes this fight, it's the losses and how you can replenish them afterwards. After all this, Kasva, despite the fact his economy should be so damn strong, he's struggling to replace the losses. He's going to need to replace them fast. The upside for Viper here, by the way, is that or rather for Kasva, is that Viper is slow to move out, right? But that slow creep has arrived where it needs to be. It's the wood that he needs. This wood is going to propel Viper forward. Especially considering he started to adjust the taxation issues in his base. Once he sorts that, he pushes enough bombards, and there's not much that Kasva can do. In fact, at this rate, he's going to up to 5 or 6 bombards, and then he can just push Nesta Bees. And that means that Kasva can't rely on Hand Cannoneers anymore. That's why he's been switching up. Like, this Camel Archer switch seems sizable and decent, but it came so damn late into the game. And for everyone who's kind of screaming wood, you know, why not go with, like, horsemen? They're cheap on the wood, right? Yeah, but they're still wood. Hand Cannoneers cost no wood. Camel Archers, although they cost wood, like, you know, they are a ranged unit. They're going to get better effective DPS than horsemen. Like, sniping out the bombards isn't the problem now for Kasva. It's dealing with this critical mass of Hand Cannoneers, and that's my big concern. Every time they take a fight, notice that Viper is getting more and more Hand Cannoneers, now up to 34. It's not going to be long before he has a critical mass. At which stage, Kasva can't take these fights, and it's crazy, really, because Kasva, he had more Hand Cannoneers than this at one point. The difference maker realistically has been that Viper took good trades in that midpoint in the game, when they were both becoming a little bit resource-starved. He made sure he had archers, he had palace guard, anything that was cheaper than Hand Cannoneers, so he could boom his eco. And now we see the effect in the numbers. And now we see the tech up as well. Look, he's going for it. It's a long time coming. But your boy Viper's reaching up, and where is he reaching up? Is it over in the corner? Yeah, it is. Great Wall Gatehouse right in the back corner here. Interesting that he sidesteps Yuan Dynasty. I still feel like a lot of value would have been in this. But now, with the extra 10% health, look how bulky you become. Your Elite Palace Guard, 277 health. And your Hand Cannoneers, up 165. It starts to match up against the Abbasses. Remember, they actually get chunkiness themselves. However, the cool thing about the Chinese is, remember, they have a unique tech for their Palace Guard. So now, the Elite Man-at-Arms are actually less chunky than the Palace Guard. Now, of course, they do come with more melee and ranged armor. But now this mitigates the difference. They're more or less neck and neck in terms of front line. And we've seen already that Viper's been taking better trades with a slight disparity in his front line, right? Now imagine how bad it's going to look. And this is the only move. Look what Kasva's doing. He's going in. Deep raid here. Lancers, Camel Archers just trying to shut down the whole eco. He's going to force a response. Viper, slow to move in position here. And look at the two-pronged attack. Kasva is just going to try to deny equity in the east corner here. But Kasva, this price is going to be high to pay. Moves in. Hand Cannoneers shredding through the Camel Archers. Lancers can't really engage as well. This is to his detriment, by the way. You don't want to take a fight here. All these buildings create natural choke points. It means your melee line can't engage. It means he has to disengage. But he did gain ground in the east side. This is the important detail. However, look, Viper, he held back a Vanguard. Hand Cannoneers and Archers were waiting here to address Kasva as he wrapped in. The Bombards will be the difference maker. He can easily snipe these out. However, Viper with the missed micro is chasing after the Bombard. Will finally readjust. Needs to wheel out. And Cannoneer's not able to trade either. So it's just going to be a wipe. It's going to be a rout. Kasva held back on two fronts here. And after that, I do become concerned about how quickly you can replenish losses. As Viper, although his economy is smaller in terms of villager count, he's kept similar numbers and his military count always remains ahead of yours. And this is getting worrisome. This doesn't seem like it's going to end anytime soon. It's still feeling like a death by 1,000 cuts, but Viper once again holds and once again in a position to gain more ground. Oh my god, this game I chose. I've been starving myself for like over half an hour now. I need to go eat. But they torture me. Wow, not torture me. They please me. Probably not the word to choose either. With a very entertaining game as we are about to crack the hour mark between Kasva and Viper here on Hill and Dale. With unorthodox Civ matchups as well to boot. Viper, well, there is one upside for Kasva. He sniped another Imperial official, and Viper has yet to replace them. I mean, it's kind of crazy. It's actually, like, right now, we have God Vision, we're chill, we're just kicking back, we're talking about this game. We can criticize this and talk about the fact he doesn't have 4 Imperial officials. It's very easy in a game like this to forget that you lost them, to rebuild them, even with the number in the bottom left corner here. He's looking at so many different things. In fact, if we check the camera view for Viper right now, he's watching the fights, he's checking his eco, he's macroing back and forth. Like, he hasn't got time to check on Imperial officials. Right now, he's too busy being pressured in the fight. The marching from Kasva is looking good right now in this fight. Bombards have to go back. Hand Cannoneers holding his opponent at bay. Lances switching targets right now. Kasva is looking confused right now. What are you attacking here? Oh, Kasva, no! He had an opportunity to snipe several Bombards there. And instead, he turns yellow belly and runs to the high hills. So many Lancers dying. So many Camel Archers dying and not much value gained. I mean, the reason it's important that Viper gets his Imperial officials back up, by the way, is this granite release. I mean, like, he's got over 1,000 gold in this one. Folks, you could build a TC here, get an Imperial official out, and tax, and it would actually pay for itself. Not often you say that. Choke point. Kasva, army falling very quickly. The cannon fodder distracted Kasva way too long. And now the trades are very one-sided. I mean, Viper, he forces him to retreat once more, and once more, it's going to be a heavy loss for Kasva. Ay. Viper, look how different it is now. How the tables have turned. 3,000 wood in reserve. He really holds the corner on the market for this. Like, there's barely any wood left. He's almost stripped to dry. Then it's straggler trees. It's stealth forest piece. That's literally all you've got left. And Kasva hasn't even resorted to that yet, so you can argue, yeah, he's still got that to work with, but I'm concerned with the way these trades have been going. I don't feel like this is going to end well for Kasva. Like, in terms of the surplus, like, even if you were even on wood right now, his trades haven't been impressive. He's been actually losing a lot more wood in these fights. Now Kasva is going to try to get some gold trick out of Sacred Sites. Did he actually ever rebuild the temple? Yes, he did, further back. Got 3 relics in the end. And the wraparound. Oh, hello. My Kasva, he does have an opportunity here. It's only Palisades. I just don't think it's going to be quick enough. Has started to transition to Horseman as well. And Viper, he's done it. Taxation's back on the menu, baby. Watch the income boost. Look at him, 1,000 gold per minute. And he's not even on the gold vein. He is now, though. Hops on hard. 22 villagers over here. And this has been Starved Viper for a long time. He's unleashed now. Remember what we talked about. The game was going to be decided by this eastern front. And although some of the gold was depleted by Kasva, that gold has not been used well. Every time, he is just stagnating down to 0 gold and taking worse trades. Now, Viper has a corner on the market for the remaining wood and gold. Farms being burnt. Kasva is the only value you can find right now. A few Spearmen and Pass Guard will be able to get a nice little trade over here. Yes, these cost wood. Yes, the wood is running out. But Viper at this stage, he can condense the east side. Like, all priority goes over there now. Everything in the west has already been drained. On the exit, most of this vanguard of troops are just going to fall for Kasva. Oh, sneaking though. Kasva? The walls just in time! He taps it up just in time. This is going to delay it long enough. The response is going to be good. I don't think he can torch through, especially with the repairs coming out. Viper with the quick repairs over for the villagers here, holding them at bay. The horseman investment is pricey for Kasva. Remember, wood is needed for these. In fact, if we look at it logically here, 20 of these, that's 400 wood. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when there's barely any remaining on the map, that is a hefty quantity to throw away for nothing. And I mean, Kasva, your desperation's showing, buddy. He's running out of moves very fast here. And the only reason that Kasva hasn't been punished for all this is because he's running deep. So Kasva, with these moves, it is throwing away troops, but it is forcing Viper to run a marathon across with these slow troops. And admittedly, Viper could have sidestepped this issue if he went for Yuan Dynasty, but he decided the health was more important. He didn't even go up into Ming Dynasty to get his hands on the Grenadiers, as we haven't seen a single Grenny being pushed yet. For good reason as well. Like, Grenadiers are too pricey, 240 resource per unit, and a hefty quantity of that is wood and gold. By the way, I know some people are kind of highlighting Tithe Barns. It was research. You can see it right there. Tithe Barns has been very popular with pros in the last few weeks, so don't think that that's the issue here. Like, they have been getting Tithe Barns on both sides. For those wondering how Tithe Barns works, you can see there you get 30 wood, 30 food, and 20 stone per relic bank. And that's where they're getting this miracle resource influx from, because there's not much left on the map for them to actually gain otherwise. And look how quickly he blitzes these buildings, Viper. Starting to shrink the map. Kasva building up a defense force. Needs a stat. But you can see that Viper is floating a bigger military force. I mean, actually, Kasva's over eco-boomed at this stage. But he has to be. And now he's doing the trade switch up. Oh my. And he did. That's where it went. So 3,600 resources invested in getting the trade wing. He needs time, though. It's not online yet. In fact, Kasva, I don't think you have the pop cap or the gold to float this right now. Not with the pressure coming out, because Viper's moving in. And look how quickly the front line folds. Straight onto the back line, the squishy's in trouble here. Hand Cannoneer's going to peel back, with the numbers always increasing now to 40 Hand Cannoneers for Viper. Backstab coming in for the Camel Archers, but he dresses at Viper, so quick to turn around and make sure he doesn't get pinched here. Camel's in range to trade out. Bombard's wheeling back. He's getting pinched on both sides, but the trade should still go the way of Viper here. It's going to cost him dearly, though. Camel Archer, their attack speed down at 1.25. Getting the better side of this. Actually, it's going the way of Kasva, rather. And Viper wheeling it back, evening up the trade. But now, after that, Kasva is the one that can boom up economically. He's actually done it. Wow. Kasva. So on point with that move. It looked dicey at first, but Viper, he panicked. He didn't commit to killing one side. Instead, he got stuck in La La Land and then got put 6 feet under in the fight. Viper will at least be able to wheel up 2 bombards at the end of this. But that is a heavy loss. He'll reinvest into the Hand Cannoneers once more. But for the first time in a long time, Kasva gets the good trade. And at a critical moment as well. He wants to get that trade online now. And it's starting to boost up. He should free up eco. Only 6 pushing in the field right now. But that's the importance of this, folks. You can see the route that he's taking. It would have taken him in around the front line, so he needs to make sure he doesn't give over this area. It was critical he won this fight, but once again, as soon as he moves out, it backfires. Kasva is not reinforcing quick enough. The Hand Cannoneers, the Spears, the Palace Guard, the front line is there again, and Viper will once again strike back. And the push out. Viper is once again gold locked. Food is being drained as well. But regaining ground. Kasva not able to reinforce quick enough. It's a trickle in of troops. It's a Congo line of death. As the Palace Guard just scrambling over each other to get on that front line. Tank the fire of the Hand Cannoneers. Allow the Bombards to snipe out premium units one by one. Horsemen just not really lasting long enough. I mean, the Palace Guard have more health than Horsemen, folks. 216 compared to 277. And that's the difference. That's what was missing Viper when he took that fight so badly. He overboomed into hand cannoneers. It's why it backfired. Once he keeps a healthy composition of hand cannoneers and palace guard, it might not be a decisive victory in one fight, but he's chipping away and he's gaining ground with every clash. Viper now back up to 3 bombards. It was critical that he saved 2 from that disaster of a fight. And once more, they just move up, and the base that's being structured in the center is problematic. I mean, Kasva, like, this shows you the strength of the Abbasids. Like, he wouldn't have been able to replace his lost troops at the rate he has been if it wasn't for the power of Golden Age. But wait, what? No way. He never linked it. He hasn't even had the increased production rate. Kasva, no! I could have sworn he had that. Did he get cut off? There's no way. There's enough buildings here for it. He hasn't even got level 2. Well, this explains a lot. This explains how, despite the raise, despite the lower eco, Viper is still able to contest. Because Kasva, he's missed out on one of his biggest benefits. Oh, late game Abbasid. Right now, people watching this like Imperial Age Abbasid sucks. Yeah, it does when you don't use it appropriately. Oh, no. Despite that, Kasva is still gaining some ground here. Pushes back, trying to prevent the outposts from going up. These outposts that can add up. If Viper upgrades them, really needs to get some cannon placements. But barely any stone to work with. Bombard's wheeling it back. Hand cannoneer line holding for the moment. Camel archers are mighty chunky with 240 health. But they don't last long against this hand cannon fire, as we can see. Meanwhile, once again in the raid, Kasva back in on that squishy eco line. Shrinking the eco further as Viper is down to 75 villagers. But once again, the battle going the way of the snake, and he'll push forward. Keep being constructed. Kasva needs to protect this eco line. Remember, he's been going into the trade. In fact, now up to 18. It's starting to get online, but it does take time. And, oh my, Viper. There's a gap. There's a gap. Panic. The horseman push in is actually effective here because Viper can't afford to defend his eco lines. He's slowly dying here. Down to 67 eco. It's getting lower. Kasva, he realizes he can't win the fight anymore. Not directly. So he wins it by proxy. He's like, I might not be able to stop you today, but you know what? That's a beefy army you're working there. You know, you have been hitting the gym 24/7, Viper. I feel like you need a lot of protein. So instead of fighting you in the ring, I'm just going to go into the fields and kill your cows. There will be no food. He's food starved. Double or nothing for Kasva. Almost 4,000 food to the 2,000 of Viper, and this is without the Golden Age perks, as he is still only Golden Age 1. How? How has he done this? It's the walls. It's the choke points. It's dictating flow. As Kasva goes with the flow. Now an hour and 12 minutes into this game. And although Kasva, it's been a back and forth affair in the midfield, the critical detail is he's never forfeited past this point. The reason that's important is this. The trade route. 177 gold as well as 44 wood per. And Viper, he hasn't noticed it. Look at the vision. Look how close he is to seeing it. Oh, this is going to sting when Viper watches his back, but is he aware now? He's shifting east. He might discover it. And this is important, folks. He needs to discover it now because Kasva isn't online just yet. He ain't making it rain in the club. Kasva ain't buying everyone drinks in the club just yet, but he's close to it. And Viper might have identified a prime opportunity. I don't think he even realizes what he's about to snipe into here. Maybe he suspects that trade is going on because of how late in the game we are and the troops that are being pushed by Kasva. The timing on this might be most fortuitous for the Snake. He moves in. Eco is going to shift away. Farms are going to have to shift out here, but they might get butchered on the exit. Viper moving in. Wheeler's deal over here with the bombards, the hand cannoneers. Oh no, he's pinched on both sides. Ooh, moving in. Outpost, Viper. Yeah, he's going to try to deny this, but he's going to have to take the fight first. Clash of swords, front lines holding for the moment. Hand cannoneers, archers, and bombards. The back line bigger for Viper, but the front line is looking mighty squishy right now. Does get wrapped upon. Men-at-Arms held back by their own walls right now. Viper needs more front line, is about to get exposed. Archers will tank a lot of the fire from the hand cannoneers, and Kasva needs more troops. In fact, reinforcements being held back. So right now, Viper looking like he can take the good trades. Bombard's still the difference maker. Kasva, I don't remember the last time we saw him build siege. He hasn't been able to. He still can't afford it. In fact, think about this logically, folks. Yes, unlimited gold trade. Woohoo! You have to get them first. You have to build them, and they have to make the travel. And that's the problem right now. Look what Kasva's doing. He's throwing away villagers, just trying to distract to get the caravans through. But this will only work so long. Viper can redirect fire. But now crossbows on the walls, taking 66% reduced damage, but that won't last long. Bombard sniping down the walls fast here. Hand cannoneers will have to peel back for the moment. His man-at-arms are going to target them. But I think Kasva's in trouble, folks. Income per minute. Says things look good, but this is what we call sticking your head in the sand and pretending nothing's wrong. The house will be on fire unless he gets more troops out here now. And the good news for him is that Viper is so busy killing the military, he hasn't started sniping the traders just yet. The Silk Road might be a short-lived dream, though. Up to 22, and I don't think it's going to go any higher because they're being massacred now. So many dead donkeys. Oh, no. I think we know who Viper's favorite character was in the Shrek movies. As Viper snipes all of the traders coming nearby, he says there can only be one ass in this game, and it ain't gonna be me. Kasva. Does he go for the snipe again? It hasn't been effective so far. The concern is he keeps doing it with camel archers. He has been stripping Viper's eco bear. He hasn't really been striking decisively into the lines in a way that is unrecoverable for the snake. And oh no, where's the army? Kasva, no! Defend, defend, defend! The bombards are just gonna sit here now. Like, how do you kill them quick enough? You can't! Uh-oh. Kasva deep, honestly at this point I think oh my god. Folks, 2,500 units have been killed in this game. 2,500! And this is post-Maganel nerf! What has happened in this game? Oh my Gideon. There's practically nothing left. If Hillendale was a person right now, all it would have to say is, I've got nothing left to give! Because once this gold vein is gone, there is nothing left! They have picked it completely. Oh wait, no, there's one tree here. My good God. I don't remember the last time I saw this much malnutrition on a map. There is nothing. And neither player shows any sign of letting up. This is a new map. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce an iteration of Hillendale. This is post-apocalyptic wasteland. And that wasteland's about to be full of bodies. Look at the amount of troops coming out from Kasva. Kasva, this is the strongest he's looked in a long time. Military count matching that of Viper, maybe slightly exceeding. 31 hand cannoneers, a strong front line pushing through. Bombards in retreat right now. The wraparound, man-at-arms, hand cannoneers getting in. Front line's folding too quickly. Viper in a little bit of trouble here. Still hasn't dressed to man-at-arms, and it means that his hand cannoneers are in trouble. Chases through. Chases through. Deeper and deeper he goes. Outpost defense is still not upgraded because Viper does not have the stone to get the cannons. He's in full retreat. Kasva about to gain the most ground he has in a long time here. Sticking on top of him every time he retreats, every time he formation shuffles. Viper is losing more troops here. Bombards now being targeted. Bombards that are going to have to be left behind. They're too slow. He has to bail upon him. 1.12 movement speed compared to 0.72. Moves in, sticks on top of him, starts to trade out. Micro on point from Kasva. The trade's in his favor right now, 23 to the 21. Viper is giving over too much ground, and at the end of it, how do you replace the losses? Barely anything in the production queue. Barely any gold or food remaining. Despite the income being at 1,000 per minute, he can't afford to instantly replace the army anymore. And now the village is in trouble as well. He banks the last of the gold, understanding that this is hotly contested territory. Kasva will peel back, but the breathing room, was he able to get the trade going? He wasn't, because Viper peeled off with a small group of hand cannoneers and got in the way. Oh my. This game teeter-totters like a seesaw right now. 50-50. You can feel it going either way. But surely the end feels nigh. It feels close. It has to be. Viper renews the assault. Starting to push archers in the mixer again in small quantities, but here it comes. The boys. Spears. Archers. Palace Guard. In quantity. Kasva. How will he match this? He hasn't matched it yet. His eco has shrunk. Once was an outie, now it's an innie. I mean, look at it. Think about this logically. Kasva at one stage at 120 when he had Viper down at 70 or 80. Viper, throughout so much of this game, has been so efficient on the trades, and it's why, even with a villager deficit, he has been able to keep this neck and neck. But now, he'll go for the neck, he'll go for the jugular. The front district is going to start to crumble quickly here in the face of the bombards. And the trade is also problematic. Can he even get one route through? He might be able to, but it's going to cost him a clash. Reinforcements have arrived. Viper looking stronger here. Barely any hand cannoneers. Kasva drained to the bone, down to 11. And Viper somehow, once again, has 33 hand cannoneers. Tripling up the numbers of Kasva. And this front line is going to be shredded. I feel like I'm watching scenes from The Last Samurai here. Kasva, it might be time to Sudoku. Oh no, not the donkeys again. For just $5 a month, you can help save a donkey from bombard fire. Yeah, for just the low price of a Twitch Prime, you could help save donkeys from being attacked by bombards. Simply by encouraging me to censor it out. But I don't get paid enough for that yet. Could you imagine? I feel like I'd have to censor a lot in this game. It has been a leviathan of a bloodbath. We are almost at 3,000 units dead total across the course of this game. And it might reach 3,000 with this fight. Not the donkeys, no. That's okay, they're cheap. Viper right now moves in with the bombards. He's like, I have finally got the power play. Kasva, I can now stop you from having your golden age. You will not be at golden age 3 anymore when I'm done with it. Oh, wait a second. He never was at golden age 3. Whoopsie. Fight underway. Small front line. A lot more range for Viper right now. Hand cannoneer quantity just not there. Kasva trying to switch up into crossbows to address the front line faster, just so he can get on top of the hand cannoneers, but still Archer in the back line, the bombards as well. These fights have slowly but surely been getting more one-sided, and with production lines also being sniped, not the amount of films required to instantly replace the losses, you can see how Kasva is shriveling up. 69 military to the 33. Hand cannoneer line now exposed. Line formation to keep maximum distance away from the melee. And Bombard sniping down the premium backline one by one means that Viper will have a sizable quantity of troops left to push forward into Kasva's base. And how's the wood been looking? I think... Wait, has... No way. Someone has been buying wood. In fact, where's the marketplace? Wow. Yeah, they've been back and forth on the wood. They've been back and forth from buying and selling the wood. Because the numbers are fairly even. Yeah, they're neck and neck. So no one's been giving it... It's been back and forth. I mean, they've been funding each other's war here. But in the end, Viper is the true war profiteer here. And you can see it. All the buildings crumbling. No wood left. Less than 100 wood per minute. How do you rebuild from here? Where do you go from here? I think you go back to the lobby with a sad look on your face if you're Kasva. Everything is just gone. 3 sacred sites now controlled. Viper. I mean, he was getting by without them before. He's definitely getting plenty of gold now. Look at the details here. Negative resource in 2 for Kasva. Negative resource on 3. Kasva, he can feed the children, but he can't win a game of Age of Empires. Oh my. And just like food, Kasva, he looks like he may have been expiring here. A rotting husk of what he once was. What a way for Viper to do this. The way in which he held on. The way he bounced back, the way he pivoted to the east side of the map and went for the critical resource when it mattered most. Stripping the wood dry, getting the remnants of gold, and catching Kasva with his pants down, reaching into the cookie jar. Don't ask me why his pants were down when he was reaching into the cookie jar. There's some weird European American Pie stuff going on here. Because that play into trade backfired very quickly for Kasva. No true value ever truly gained for him. I think this might be the final hoorah. But considering you now only have 3 hand cannoneers, how the fallen have mighty. Viper wheels the bombards back. His little precious is right now in this game. Honest to God, if he was Smeagol, this is his ring. And he's about to make ringing noises in Kasva's ears as he opens fire with a bombard and hand cannoneer battalion. This will be it. Kasva nowhere left to run and hide. It took an hour and a half. A lot of pressure on him, but when Viper strikes into the base of Kasva, he does so in a decisive fashion. Woo! What a game between these AOE2 legends. What a game. I mean, you can see what it came down to. Wood was neck and neck through so much of this. The gold gathered. Look, the numbers, they're too long to even show. Almost 200,000 gold was gained in this game. Almost over 120,000 wood. Food? My God, they almost cracked 400,000 on the food. Oh, what a game. Military as well. Look at the numbers. 3,000 plus people died for this. Was it worth it? Is the question that often gets asked at the end of wars. And hell yeah, this is worth it. This is going to be a great video on YouTube.